Harp on Sports, The Bar, Harp on Sports Audio, Media, Radio, Podcasting Network. You want to be a part of it, you want to follow, like, share, we encourage you to do so. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you know it, you're on it, you got it at Harp on Sports everywhere. Got my Budweiser t-shirt on today for those of you watching via video, as, why not, National Beer Day? I am the king, I am the big number one. So what are we going to do? A little boycott blitz for you. A say what? Deshaun Watson. And a trashy tourney. Or a tournament of trash, if you will. So, the boycott blitz. Where to begin? Well, let's face it. Politics, sports, they're connected at the hip. We always talk about this. People that say sports and politics don't mix. They're full of it. They just say those things. It's not true. Not accurate. 25 years ago, we had a former NFL quarterback that was the vice presidential nominee on the Republican Party. We've had J.C. Watt. We've had Steve Largent. We've had all sorts of people in the political realm enter politics. Sports and politics mix. From Tommy Smith and John Carlos and the fists in the air to Muhammad Ali, it exists. Greatest sporting event of all time was cloaked in political strife. The 1980 Winter Olympics, Team USA beating the Red Army. Politics and sports are always connected. So, boycott bliss. Major League Baseball, players address their concerns. The All-Star Game is removed from Atlanta and placed in Colorado. You know, it's one of these things now. It's not going away, and that's a good thing. Athletes realize their power. Everybody loves the name on the front of the jersey. But you watch sports for the name on the back of the jersey? Don't believe me? How many Cleveland Cavalier fans are there now? Come on. How many Miami Heat fans are there now? Come on. Right? So, I watch this unfold. And I say to myself, it happened a couple years ago with the All-Star Game in Charlotte, right? The NBA All-Star Game that got yanked because of the bathroom bill. And now the voting rights rule or whatever law in Georgia, if you make a rule or you make a law or you pass legislation that makes it tougher for African Americans to vote, which that does, right or wrong, it's going to make it tougher. Expect athletes to voice their concerns. Athletes wield a tremendous amount of power. And don't believe me, why are you so upset when they do things like this? When leagues do things like this? And now you have a fine line between both sides of the political spectrum. Businesses can do what they want. They can discriminate, but they can't discriminate. And we have a right to, you don't have to watch them. I've always said that you don't have to consume them. You don't. You don't. I do not fall under the guise of not going to businesses based on their political leanings. If I like a business, I'll go to it. And this is where this ties into, because it happens with baseball. It's happening with other sports too. Baseball's not the only one. We're about ready to head into a tempest here with the Olympics in China when it comes to boycotting that. Look, we boycotted the Soviet Summer Games, didn't we? In 1980, Jimmy Carter? This is not a new notion. This happened 40 years ago. And everybody wants to stick it to China. Okay, well, then we'll boycott it. Well, how much is that really sticking it to them? Well, good question. Better if we go in there and win. Oh, okay, well, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? Maybe future organizations, future Olympics shouldn't take place there? Are we the moral compass of the world? Should the Olympics be taken away from China because, I don't know, the whole coronavirus thing? So we have all those decisions that we need to make. But here's the thing about boycott and boycotts. They get things done. Boycotts work. They work. When unions go on strike, they work, don't they? They work. When players go on strike, when you boycott something, we're not going to buy this anymore. We're going to boycott this. They work. They make you feel sad. I want athletes to be quiet and play. They haven't been doing that for 60 years. And now, with all the money on the line, and that's why athletes keep quiet for the most part, right? Michael Jordan, the whole, selling sneakers to both sides of the aisle. Athletes now look around and go, we make so much money, we don't care. We don't. And again, if you don't want athletes in leagues moving sporting events from your locations, don't do things like this. And again, I'm telling you what's coming. You're not going to get any Super Bowls in Atlanta as long as this bill's in place. You're not going to get any Final Fours in Atlanta as long as this bill's in place. They're going to yank regionals away from you. They just are. States that pass this legislation are going to head down the wormhole or the foxhole or the rabbit hole, I should say, of where we were with the Confederate flag in South Carolina. Athletes have power. You don't like it? It's funny because everybody that consumes entertainment, I just wish athletes would shut up. Okay. I just wish actors and actresses would shut up. Okay. I just wish directors and major people would shut up. Oh, okay. So those people shouldn't have a voice, but you should. They have a bigger platform than you. But yet, no problem with those people being trotted out when they support your views. I just look at this thing, and I got news for you. It's not going away. The activist athlete is here. He or she are going to put their foot forward. And what happened with Colin Kaepernick? Disagree, not like it, whatever you want to say. The right to protest. Well, I'm not allowed to protest at my job and my work. You're not a professional athlete. Tough. Yeah. You know why you're not allowed to do that? Because you're not that valuable to your company. You're not. And they're entertainers. You're not an entertainer. You're not. Sorry. It's the truth. So this boycott's going to continue. And once we get, and baseball acted quick. We're going to take it out of Atlanta. We're going to move it to Colorado. Boom, boom, and it's done. It's done. It's that quick. The next phase in all of this is where do we go with the next major sporting event? And they're pushing this with the Masters a little bit. They should move the Masters out of Augusta. And you can kind of see the chairman looking around and members of Augusta going, oh boy, oh gosh, we finally allow female members. We're starting to get there. It's our club, but oh geez, it's not. It's a PGA event, but then again, it's not a PGA event. All of these things that come into line with what the Masters are, it's like, oh boy, what are we going to do here with this Georgia law? Ooh, the Masters isn't going anywhere. They're not going to be able to touch the Masters. The Masters is an isolated event. It's 4 days. There you go. They can say the All-Star Game's only 1 day. Yeah, but it features 32 teams, 30 owners, 30 teams, 30 fan bases, all of those things. So as I watch this unfold, the Masters isn't going anywhere. Boycott, Blitz, this isn't new. It isn't. All this boycotting nowadays has been going on for 40 years, since the 80 Summer Olympics. And again, when we get to the Beijing setup, well, we need to boycott. You going to boycott? It's a Winter Olympics, right? If you boycott and the U.S. doesn't participate, which I think we are, I think the pressure is going to mount to move it from China. Ask yourself, are you okay with moving the Winter Olympics from China, let's say, to Salt Lake City? You okay with that? Seriously, are you okay with that? For what happened with the coronavirus and the negligence to come out of that country, should the Olympics be pulled? Yes. But it can't just be the United States. The United States needs to get together and forget Russia. They're not going to do anything like that. Think about your big Winter Olympic sports teams. The United States, Canada. If you got, as crazy as this sounds, like Sweden and Finland and Germany together and said, hey, we're not going to, you have to get like 7 or 8 countries to yank that. If you can get like 6, 7 countries together that say we're not going to participate in the Winter Olympics, then all of a sudden the IOC is going to look around and go, all right, All right. It can't just be the United States. It's got to be a massive effort. Massive effort. It's a little boycott blitz around the world there when it comes to just a different variety of things. And look, it's not going away. It's not. It's going to continue. It's been going on for decades now. Decades. Politics and sports. It's like peanut butter and jelly. Butter and popcorn. The next phase in all of this, I'm going to talk about the NCAA tournament. It was, to me, a trash tourney. If I ask you in 2 weeks to name the Sweet 16, I bet you're lucky to get 9 of them. The story was Gonzaga going undefeated. Didn't happen. They lost to Baylor. Baylor's a good basketball team. Final Four is terrible. Actually, the last 10 days of the tournament were awful, with the exception of a bank shot. I mean, it's boring. And you had the top 2 teams play each other. Why? Well, look, you had a lot of guys come back, saw a lot of names, and a lot of people came back. Why? Well, your heavy hitters weren't there. Your heavy hitters weren't there. If you had a college football playoff coming up, and the 4 teams were Oklahoma State, North Carolina, Indiana, and UCLA, the playoff would tank. It'd be awful. The ratings would be atrocious. And that's how we judge things. How much you view, how much you watch. That's how we judge this. And I just thought the tournament was awful. And, seeding wise, we had a bunch of upsets. Great. I think I counted, and of the 67 games that took place to get 68-1. I think of the 67 games, I think we had something like 26 instances where the lower seed won, not necessarily the favorite, because we had some times where the 9 was the favor over the 8. And sometimes we had once where 10 was over the 7, even though the 7 won. You know what I mean? So, but less than a third were actually upset. So it's one of those things that it's a misnomer that, oh my God, all these upsets. Not really, only about a third. It was just a boring, bland tournament. And everybody's I'm glad Gonzaga didn't win. 1976 Indiana Hoosiers. Okay, great. Team from 5 years ago, went undefeated. Great, let's not enjoy anything now. It'd been a great story if Gonzaga would have gone undefeated and won it. And I got a kick out of this too when it comes to this. One of my favorite things that I saw was, well, they just didn't play in a tough enough conference this year. 30 whatever and yeah, that was the problem. They didn't play in a tough conference like the Big Ten that had 7 teams lose in the first 36 hours of the tournament. Yeah. So what was Ohio State's problem against Oral Roberts, that the Big Ten wasn't strong enough, wasn't as good as the Summit, or was it the MAC? I can't even tell you what conference. Is it the Summit conference that they're in? Give me a break. The problem is Gonzaga's schedule. Oh, that was the problem. When they beat UCLA, the Pac-12 that had the best run of any conference, right? Pac-12 had the best run of any conference. Wasn't the problem then. Maybe they lost to a better team. I mean, Baylor did beat Dayton by 20. What was the closest anybody came within Baylor? 9? It was better than everybody else. But it's boring. I mean, and we're not going to miss Duke, not going to miss Kentucky. I missed them. Not having Duke and Kentucky around was the equivalent of the Batman series once Michael Keaton left. I'm glad Duke and Kentucky's gone. All right, Baylor's Val Kilmer. I like that movie. Huh? I like that movie. That's what it was. No Kentucky and no Duke in the NCAA tournament is like replacing Michael Keaton in Batman with Val Kilmer. That's what it was. Oh, let's get rid of them, man. Yeah, here comes Houston. This is great. All right. Houston is George Clooney. Great. More exciting bad Batmans. That's what it was. Just yawn. Look, it's going to happen. Not everyone's going to be great. But something can be said for having those heavy hitters around. Everybody wants the Yankees to lose. Everybody wants the Red Sox to lose. In baseball, I hope the Patriots get beat. That's great. I hope this team loses. I hope that team loses. Oh, okay. Look, I've got it. I've got rooting interest too. I want to see certain teams win and certain teams lose. But sports are better. The tournament was not as good because Duke, I didn't miss them at all. Well, viewership missed them. At least they grab, what time's Duke on? What time's North Carolina on? I don't catch myself going, what time is Oral Roberts on? I don't. Just thought it was a trash tournament. And look, it's not the players' fault. It's not the committee's fault. It's just, some of your traditional powers weren't around. It's okay. Look, I don't mind an upset. Remember, 5-6 years ago, Baylor was like a 3 seed and lost in the first round. It's fine. And basketball has this little bit of a problem, like when it gets into this, like when the Baylors win. It's like when somebody new comes along and wins a major in golf. And everybody's like, ooh, this guy's good. It's like, oh, okay, unless he wins a bunch of other majors, it's not any good. We need him to win some more. Dustin Johnson wins the Masters. Dustin Johnson won the U.S. Open. So it's like, okay, well, if Dustin Johnson wins the Masters again, okay, now you got my attention. If Jordan Spieth wins, okay. Rory, okay, that's good. But if somebody wins that hasn't won one before, it's like, great. He's a good golfer. So he may be, but as much as people complain about dynasties in the same teams, you miss them. You miss them. So, by the way, I saw Dustin Johnson's dinner menu at the Masters. I always it's the champions dinner. Here's what we're eating. It's always like filet mignon, lobster. Yes. It's always something like that. Just 1 year. 1 year. I want to see somebody do like beef and noodles. I want to see somebody 1 year do SpaghettiOs. What would be really funny 1 year for the Masters dinner. He'll never win it, but John Daly, if he, oh God, I'll put hot dogs. I want to see somebody have a Masters dinner and be like, CC's Pizza Buffet. I would love to see that just once. Just once. I want to wrap up with the Deshaun Watson thing, and the Texans are caught. They can't trade him now. I mean, 22 accusations. And it took a press conference and 22 accusations before major sponsors looked around and said, do we think all 22 of these women are lying? We better start distancing ourselves from this man. 22? 22 women now? Oh, they're all in it for money. All of them? All of them? Okay. And, now there's the commissioner needs to put him on the exempt list. Oh, he's getting there. He's getting there. And Deshaun, you're not riding this one out. You're not. And the Texans are just hosed here. They are hosed. Where this is going, this is entering. Like, oh, will he be suspended? He can go to jail. I think this is so interesting and how people are missing this. It's like, well, he could be put on the players exempt list by the commissioner's list, and the commissioner exempt list, and he could be suspended. He's gonna go to jail. 22 accounts of sexual misconduct. You can't trade for him. There's no way. So what do? I don't know. If you're the Texans, you just hold on to him, is what you do. There's nothing you can do. So say what? Say bye. I mean, if you're the Texans, you hope that the commissioner does this. You can't cut him. You look back on this, and this is what's crazy about this. Remember when the commissioner, when the Texans had a problem and we had a mess on our hands with the Texans going to move them? Oh, what an ugly mess. This Deshaun Watson situation with the Texans, what's going on right here, everything that's going on right here, they're sit back and say nothing. Nothing. Sit back and say nothing. Say what? Say nothing. Nothing. The Texans going to draft a quarterback? Don't really need to, do they? It's a lost year anyway. Build around it. Build around that position. I mean, look, the Texans they're rebuilding, and they kind of get a pass because of what's going on here. But this is just nasty. I keep saying, is Deshaun Watson going to be suspended? Is he going to miss any time? He's going to go to jail. Harp on Sports, The Bar, Harp on Sports Podcast. Harp on Sports, The Bar Radio Network. Follow, like, share, follow, like, at Harp on Sports Twitter, at Harp on Sports Instagram, Harp on Sports, the Facebook page. Follow, like, share, click on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout. We're all over the place. Keep on cracking, baby. Again, every Wednesday and Sunday night we try to bring this to you. It'll be up on video here, and it'll be uploaded throughout the course of the next few hours. And as always, we appreciate it. Stay strong, stay clean, stay focused. Frankenstein, fun with your friends.